Folks, hello and welcome back to the Marketing and Business Show. My name is Peter Langan. I'm joined by Alex. Alex, how are you doing? How's your week been? You've been doing really well. You're on top of the world.
I literally am on top of the world in my standing desk right now. I feel like I'm looking down at I don't actually know if it's the right angle because I'm actually looking down as I'm watching this video at the screen. So I don't know if I should be more like this or I don't know. But basically, yeah, I've got a standing desk. I borrowed it off a friend's test out. I feel way more productive when I'm stood up rather than sat down. Get things done faster, just feel better for it.
Yeah. Do you know, funny, I've had a standing desk for a long time and I actually have two of them. And I'll tell you a story, right? So I was watching people, and this is years ago, I was watching people and they all had these standing desks, right? And I was thinking, like, I think I really want one of them because sometimes I get tired sitting down, And at the time, as always, bringing stuff in from China, I said, you know what? I'm gonna bring a standing desk in from China. So I thought, you know what? It's $150, $200 something straight from the supplier. I was like, that's not too bad. I'll buy that. It's great. So I bought two of them, right? The standing desks ended up costing me like $600 or $700 by the time they got here in a container between VAT, duty, everything, right? So they weren't cheap for me, right? But I have to say they are absolutely brilliant. I wouldn't be without one now. Like sometimes I could actually sit and use the desk low down for a full week, right? But that's very rare. I nearly always at some point have it standing and use it for an hour or two standing, then sit down for a bit, then use it standing again. It's so cool. I'm actually standing now. You were standing up. So I was like, I'm going to stand up at my desk as well. So yeah, guys, if anyone's on the fence, not sure whether they want a standing desk, I recommend it. Should we end the podcast there?
Yeah, I need like an affiliate link so people can go and get a discount on a standing desk.
100%.
If any standing desk companies are out there listening to our podcast and want to sponsor it, please get in touch.
We graciously accept more standing desks as payment. But that's not the only reason you're on top of the world. You're chuffed. It's been a great week.
Yeah, real great week. Like literally, I don't know if it's because of the standing desk, but I've just had like a super productive week with onboarding some new clients into some content creation products I'm selling, which is really good. Mm-hmm. And yeah, life is good. Doing quite a bit of training at the gym, some bike riding, even though it's still a bit too icy at the minute, but it's what it is.
Doing a small bit.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Brilliant. Well, Alex, I think we have given people a lot of hints about data for the last while, but we've never actually explained what is this data stuff we're doing.
Well, yeah, true. I mean, we've been doing, if you've been listening to any of the previous episodes, we have talked a bit about our backstory, what we've been up to, different projects we've been working on. And then for the last year, we've both been pretty involved with data. And that sounds really, really stupidly high level, because if you tell someone you're involved with data, it's real boring. Nobody really knows what it is or what it does or the power of it or how that can actually help someone or how you can make money from data. It just sounds like, you just input things into spreadsheets. No, we don't. Well, we kind of do.
We do. We have automations.
Yeah. So, Peter, you tell people from a super high level what we're doing.
Yeah. So at a high level, we are using data to help advertisers spend less money and make more sales. I think that could sum it up there in a very high level. Okay, right. Come down one level and explain to people what is data. Data is 0 and 1s if it's digital data. If data in this case, in our case, is on people. It's people's activities online, what they're doing, what they're purchasing, what they're likely to purchase. It's basically just. It's modeling, really, Alex. When you say it's like it's bringing a group of people together, nearly like a congregation online of people that have similarities. I think that would be a good option.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's probably worth explaining. So let's just say, for example, you had a business. I'm going to try and explain this really simply. If you had a business and you wanted to market to a certain type of person to sell a product or service, you have to know specific things about a person. So what is, what their gender, what sort of age range are you looking at, where do they live, all this sort of stuff. So this is all useful data that we can use to find out who our target audience is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with what we're doing at the minute with this data, we have access to a lot of it. So we have a lot of different points of data on people, which we can use to help businesses make their targeting better, so they can spend less on advertising, or they can basically target and put their products and services in front of their target audience at the best price. And with all the stuff that's been going on in the last few years, I don't know if you guys who listen to this are very tech-minded or not, but in the last few years, there's been a bit of a data darkness. So it's basically been getting harder and harder for businesses and advertisers to put their products and message in front of the right people because of, all these iOS updates and stuff like that. So as marketers, as business owners, we have to come up with creative, ethical, and legal ways to get around that. And this is kind of like what we're doing, isn't it, Peter?
It's 100%. Yeah. So what Alex kind of touched on there is that about, I can't remember, is it 2 years ago or something like that? Well, not even 2 years ago, but the iOS
last year.
Yeah, last year. It feels like 2 years ago. iOS 14, iOS 15, all these updates, right? They basically meant that just retargeting did not work anywhere near the way it used to, which meant that marketers seeing their ad spend go through the roof, right? Some companies went from being like super profitable to being not very profitable at all. And that all boils down to they're just not targeting people right. They're not able to target people right. What was happening was people, like if we just take Facebook, for example, people were depending on Facebook to show their ads to the right people. And to track people as they move around their website and retarget them with ads and follow-up ads. They were relying on Facebook. After the iOS updates, that just didn't work. And, as the years went on, it's worked less and less, okay? So that's where we're kind of coming in, and we're able to actually say to these people, look, yes, it was great before, but don't worry, we can actually help you actually get back better than where you were. Yeah. I think that's probably a good way of describing kind of what we're doing and kind of what makes it quite unique. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Peter and Alex, are they like, I studied data in college, right? I'll be honest with you. I studied business information systems. I don't think Alex studied business information systems in college. Did you, Alex?
I did not.
No, he did not. Even so, even if we both studied business information systems, we would not be fit to build the kind of infrastructure that we're utilizing now. But we became part of a community of marketers that have put together, it's not a big community, it's actually quite very, very small, a thing called a consumer graph, which basically, nuts and bolts, it is what does all the tracking, right? It's tracking, and what you hear, Alex, about 80 billion events every single day globally on the internet.
Well, if you tell you what, so an event is basically when somebody takes an action, isn't it, right? What's an event?
Yeah.
So
event when someone takes an action, is event when...
Yeah, so event could be when someone lands on a website page, clicks a button on a whatever. And we have access to all this data. So this may sound gobbledygook at the minute, but if we can give this information to businesses and they can basically feed it into their current marketing stuff, we can improve their targeting like tenfold. So if we do that, ad costs come down, businesses can acquire customers at a much lesser price, and basically everybody wins. So I tell you what's probably best to go with this now, because this probably still won't make sense to some people who are listening to this. Yeah. When we started to work with clients on this, one of the first clients we worked with was a Scandinavian company, and they sold a health and fitness device, which was selling quite well, and they used Facebook marketing to sell that product. So they were paying Facebook for, advertising. And what we did was we came in to work with them with our data, and we put our hardware on their site. We installed this little thing on the back end of their website. And what this little thing did was tracked every single visitor and every single event on their website. And that gave us access to all this data. We collected all this data. And then we basically plugged that back into Facebook and tested our new audience against their old one. And Peter, what, off the top of your head, do you know what the results were, what we helped that client achieve?
Oh, I think it was, if I recall, it was a 40% drop in CPA from based on their old lookalike versus our new lookalike. So we actually were able to resolve the exact identity of the people. So it's not even like Alex saying like track all these events. We're able to tell them, look, Mary from Tennessee visited your site at 1422 yesterday, and this is her address, it's her telephone number, this is her car she drives, all this sort of cool jazz, and that is so powerful. But when you plug it back into Facebook, it's even more powerful.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, it probably how do you make data sound sexy? I don't know if you can, other than the fact that it literally saves people money. And talking of saving people money, the great thing about how we're positioning this offer to people, when we're working with people, usually if an agency or a business comes in to work with another business, they charge them a fee. So you pay, this many £1,000 or dollars a month to access whatever, or, achieve a certain outcome. The way we've kind of worked this and figured things out is that the client actually doesn't really, quote, pay us anything, because our fee, what we charge a client, is taken out of how much we can save a client, which is so damn cool. And it took us a while to figure out how to do this, but essentially the client with our data can only save money. They don't lose money. This does not cost them any money. And once it's implemented correctly, and they reduce how much it costs them to acquire a customer or make a sale, the amount the client pays us is based off how much we can save them. So the client essentially doesn't have another expense with this, it makes it like a no-brainer offer, which we should actually do a podcast on no-brainer offers, because it took us, how long did it take us to put this together? Because we had this, we had this grand idea of how we could use this data, and we were like, how do we package this up in a way that is so desirable to people that because we obviously knew the power of it and how unbelievable it could be. But when you try and present what we like, we're quite excited about this stuff, but most people aren't as excited as we are. And when we try and present this to people and show people, they're a bit like, meh, I don't really see the value in it. But as soon as we walk them through the numbers and show them the potential of what we could do with it, and the fact that it doesn't actually cost them anything, it only saves them money, then the light bulb goes off them. And it's like, where do I sign up? Straight away. Yeah. And that's kind of where we're at. And we've been working with we only worked with a handful of clients. This is completely brand new to us. Yeah. Well, it was like about a year or so ago. But I
think it's worth pointing out, Alex, sorry, that the tech has been getting better as well. Like, the tech we were using a year ago, good as it was, is nowhere near as good as what we have now. Like, what we have now is like, it's a marketer's dream. Like, and we'll go into more of it in the future, but like, it's been improving all the time. Oh, and we've been improving.
Yeah. I think the tech side of it's your forte. I'm more of the I wouldn't say the marketer of it, but I quite like the front end, trying to tell people about it. Whereas Peter's more the technical guy who implements all this and figures out all the numbers and stuff like that. So it's kind of like
fix the problems.
Team. Yeah, I'm fixing the problem. Fixes all the problems. I do not do any of that.
I'll give you an example, right? Like, and you've hit the nail on the head there, right? Like what we did for the company, the example we talked about earlier on, we actually took their data, the visitors of their site, and gave that to Facebook and created lookalikes. They were really powerful. They crushed it, right? But what we can actually do as well, and just another example, and how this kind of flips things on its head. So if you know in your business, like, usually my customers are male, they're between 35 and 40. They usually have this sort of like bank balance or net worth, and they kind of live in this area, and they generally have these things as hobbies. We can build all that in and actually query the graph and create an audience of, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, up to 1 million individuals that meet those specific, details. And then we can actually plug that in, use that as an audience for the likes of Facebook, and also create lookalikes off that. Those sort of things are very, very powerful. I'll give you an example how minute we can go. Okay, and I did this for a bit of fun yesterday. I went, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the podcast. I don't think I did, but even if I did, I'll mention it again, right? I went and I was like, okay, I want to create a really, really small audience, a very specific audience, right? So what I went and looked for people that are male, 75, living in a specific space, like a state. Specific. I always pronounce that wrong. a certain area that were looking at purchasing a commercial truck, so looking at purchasing a truck, right? But you might think, okay, yeah, you'll get people like that, and 100% you will. But people that didn't have a driving license, their driving license was revoked. And I found him. I say him. There was one person yesterday, or the day before, that did that, and his name was John. And I found John. Like, like, you know, the old marketing is very much like, oh, this audience contains 219,000 people, and like, you know, we'll push it off and hope for the best. Like, I was able to find John. So if I had something that really was of value to John, you know, I've just got an ad for John. Is that pretty mad?
It's mad when you put it like that. I still think it's probably going to be a hard concept for people to wrap their heads around, or maybe not a hard concept, but more like how powerful this is going to be going forward, because data and attention and getting eyeballs on what you're doing is literally like the new oil in the age we're living in. So like, that is where the value is. That is where the money is. That is where the wealth is created. And we're trying to be at the front runners of this. I don't know if you could call it an industry. We're just trying to be one step ahead of everyone with this stuff. And this isn't like something that's going to go away anytime soon, like where the rug's going to get pulled from underneath our feet or anything, because the data is always going to be, well, I hope it's always going to be available for us. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very interesting time to be in.
Oh, 100%. And I think it's only going to get better. Like, the cool thing about this as well is like, there's no, like, obviously there's data rules, how you can use data, right? But what I want to say is there's no hard or fast way in how we can utilize this. And what I mean by that is like, there's so many cool things we were doing. Only yesterday I was talking to Alex about like, you know, for his like YouTubing stuff, like maybe we could use the data or leverage the data, leverage the list to find people that would be interested in that content and figure out a way of connecting with them and giving them something that they want. It could be a cool way of growing like YouTube channels, growing Instagram accounts, growing email newsletters. There's so many cool ways of doing this, and that all then can be monetized on the back end as well. Like that's what it all boils down to as well. Like, you have to monetize things. So I'm very excited. I think we're just going to try to figure out new ways of like using this data. Anyone that we bring on at the moment, it's very much like, you know what, guys, we're here to give you results. We're here to give you success stories, and we're willing to, like, you know, work with you guys. I think some of the times some of the earlier clients we had, like, it was near like people sometimes were too rigid, and we've learned that, you know, and clients have learned, I hope, that, you know, let's explore this. Let's figure this out. We need to be creative here. It's not black and white. We have to figure out the needle in the haystack, for want of a better word. We have to test audience, test creatives, you know, and match all that up. And that's pretty exciting. I think that's something we want to kind of try and do more of with this data. Cause like, literally this is not something that people have had. And people still don't have it, really. Like, this is not an off the shelf solution. This is pretty unique. Like, as I said, I found John.
Yeah, so I tell you what, on that, we'll I guess we may as well call it a day at that. But we just want to share with you guys like what we're actually up to. So this is the marketing business show on literally everything me and Peter are doing, like a behind the scenes look of what we're working on, what we're doing, and obviously if we can pass down any knowledge that we're learning to other people, or you learn through what we're doing, learn through our mistakes and avoid them, for a better sense, or learn what's working for us, then pretty decent, pretty cool. And if you are listening to this podcast, I don't even know where it even is on. Is it on all these different platforms?
It's on a lot of places. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on
sweet.
Spotify. I was going to say Shopify. Spotify.
We should start asking people if they're actually enjoying it and get value from it. Leave us a review, because we don't ask for anything in return off this podcast, but by leaving a review or commenting or whatever, helps us to share the podcast with more people, and it helps to rank it better, or whatever the bloody algorithm does. So yeah, drop us a review if you actually enjoy this stuff. Be sweet.
Yeah, because we really enjoy making it. And guys, maybe if you're interested in data, you know what, I'm just thinking, Alex, you know, if people listen to this and they're like, you know what, my business could benefit from data, you know what, reach out to us. we can
Yeah,
utilize this data
message.
possibly to help you. It is primarily US based, but we can mirror some of that back into Europe and other parts of the world. But yeah, you won't know unless you reach out. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out. And also hit that subscribe button. It's great to see new people subscribing from time to time. But yeah, I really enjoy making these, and it's good fun.
Cool. See you later.
Perfect. See you later, folks. Take care.